Hey everyone, my name is Penny Zanker, and it's time to reset. This podcast goes beyond just navigating change. It's about new ways of thinking about how you can approach challenges, how you can shift your mindset when needed, create some space and grace for yourself so that you can rethink, recharge, and reprioritize when and where needed. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Thank you for hitting play and sharing this next episode with me. It's time to reset. Hello, and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zanker, and I am excited to talk about getting unstuck, getting into action, because that's how we're going to take back time, is we're going to stay in motion. An object in motion stays in motion, right? That's what they say. And so when you know that I look for people who have different perspectives and different ways of looking at things, different strategies. And today I have Bevin Farrand with me, and she has some very interesting approaches to getting unstuck. In 2019, after an unexpected loss of her husband, she returned from a trip with her husband, and she founded a Take the Damn Chance movement. And her DAMN framework, that stands for something, so I'm not cursing on this show here. The framework has inspired thousands of people to connect with the people that they love and do the crazy things that make all the difference when given a choice to take that damn chance. And additionally, she's a coach that supports women in achieving their goals, even after going through deeply challenging experiences. So without further ado, Bevin, welcome to the show.
You probably said damn more in the last 15 seconds than you've ever said.
I've ever said, right? I feel like a kid.
Yeah. Anytime I'm introduced on a keynote stage, I like to watch the MC as they introduce me to see how that goes for them.
Whether they're kind of uncomfortable and
a
little anxious saying it.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell us a little bit about where this came from. So I stumbled over the words or whatever. It's better to hear it directly from you. Is what happened and why in such short time did you create this method?
The story really starts in 2019. So in Mother's Day, my husband, Mark, surprised me with 4 bottles of wine and a note written in French, which he didn't speak French, so seemed a little strange to me. But he had purchased us tickets, just the two of us, to go to France for my 40th birthday, which would be in November of that year, which sounds so romantic, right? Like, ooh, 6 months of planning. How romantic. But we had 2 kiddos who were 2 and 4 months old. So we started planning right away. And 2 months after that, I went in for a promotion, and instead I lost my job. So all of a sudden, we are dealing with being a one-income family. We just took money out of our savings for me to take a full maternity leave for my son. And 2 weeks after that, I said, Mark, I don't want to look for another job. I feel like I don't want to put the financial health of our family into the hands of any one person ever again. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, I decided to start my own business using what I'd done for the past 10 years for 7- and 8-figure businesses to support entrepreneurs and small businesses who wanted to grow their business. And I told him, let's just try it as a proof of concept and see if I can make $5,000 by the end of August. And so I made $0 in June and $1,000 in July. And then I hit my $5,000 mark in August. And by the time we were about to leave on our trip, I had made $35,000 in the business. So it was definitely growing, but the trip still seemed a little bit crazy. We ended up going, even though we thought maybe we should cancel it. We were going to be in planes the same amount of time that we were on the ground.
Right.
And we had this great trip in Bordeaux, the 2 of us reconnecting to who we were before we had kids and before we got married. And really just, Mark looked at me at one point and he said, I feel like I'm reconnecting to the real you, which just felt so true. It felt like what was happening for the 2 of us. We flew home, and it was the week of Thanksgiving, which is my favorite holiday. We took our daughter to her first movie theater show. We got ready. He didn't work that whole week, so we just spent time getting the house ready. And the day after Thanksgiving, I went upstairs to wake up Mark, and he wasn't breathing. And he had passed away in the middle of the night, completely unexpectedly. We didn't know he had undiagnosed heart disease. One of his arteries was 95% blocked, and the other was 50% blocked. Now, all of a sudden, I was the sole parent of 2 kids under the age of 3. The sole financial provider with a growing business that had not yet stood the test of time. And I'm doing all of it without the love of my life and my best friend. And honestly, the one who was my biggest cheerleader. So about a month after that, I posted on Facebook about my birthday and losing Mark and the trip that we had taken. And I ended it by saying, whenever you're faced with a choice, just take the damn trip. That really resonated with people. And I got a lot of messages from people talking about important events they had had with somebody before they passed away, or it's something that was coming up that they were going to say no to, but now they were going to say yes. And I started to ask myself, looking back at the hardest things that I'd been through. So not just losing my husband at the age of 40, but lost my dad to cancer when I was 24. I lost my home in a house fire in 2010. My kids are IVF babies. So I'd been through years of fertility treatments and a miscarriage. And also looking at the most amazing things that I'd created, having those kids and building that business, building a relationship with my husband. And I asked myself, what is it that I do differently than other people? Not better, but differently to navigate these situations and to create these things and have some grace and creativity throughout it all. And that's where I started to come up with the DAMN framework. So yes, it does stand for something. We're not just a little bit sweary today. So it stands for decide and declare, attend your own party, moments, not minutes, and now is the time. And every amazing thing that I've done in my life, I have used the DAMN framework and the do the damn thing method. And so when I think about creating these incredible things, I call it my biggest, boldest dream to life, literally using this method of deciding and declaring what it was that I really wanted in life. And 20 months after Mark passed away, I gave birth to our daughter using embryos that we had frozen from a previous IVF attempt. So I actually am the mom of 3 kiddos under the age of 7. So I'm just passionate about how do we get clear on what it is that we want and then get into action.
Totally. And we're really good at talking ourselves out of taking that action, right?
Yeah.
How do we do that?
Well, a couple of things. One, I think we unconsciously kind of stumble around asking for permission rather than support. And we have a great idea and we want validation from other people. And so we'll say something like, I'm thinking about writing a book. What do you think? Or I'm thinking about starting this business. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Most people are going to say, that's a stupid idea. Why would you do that?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Good job.
In this economy. Exactly.
Right.
But the reason that's happening is those people are trying that on for themselves.
Sure.
And if they're at all uncomfortable, they start to eat away at it because they want to keep you safe. They don't want to see you get hurt or see you fail.
Right.
And so instead we ask for support. Once we've gotten really clear, we've decided on our yes and our 6-dimensional why. And we say, I'm doing this thing and I would love your support. But if you're not comfortable with that, that's okay. Because their decision about whether or not to support you is not going to change your decision about whether or not to do it.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have a method for people to be able to make that decision, right? Because sometimes it might be not the best time, right? How does one judge the difference between their gut saying it really isn't the right time or their fear, right? That it's resistance because of fear. Like, how do you get somebody to clearly decide?
Yeah, it's such a good question. So one of the things I found is that in general, we have forgotten how to dream like children. So we dream like editors. And we think about this idea and then we immediately say, oh, well, that'll never work because it's not the right time, because whatever the voice in our head says. So when I talk about your DAMN Manifesto, which is that first step, it's your yes and your 6-dimensional why. The first step in it is to dream like a child, is just to do a 15-minute brain dump of all the things you could do, and then get more specific and focus in. And I have 4 questions that I ask somebody when they're thinking about their yes. And it happens to spell the word trip. I love a good acronym, Penny.
I guess so.
Mostly because it's just way easier for me to remember and for your listeners to remember. So the questions you want to ask yourself is it my top priority? So that's the T. Am I willing to make this my top priority? Which means I'm going to have to say no to some other things. Am I willing to resource it with my time, energy, money, focus, attention? Is it inspiring? Is it something that I'm moving towards rather than away from? And then the P is it personal? So is this my dream? And if you can say yes to all of those things, then that is your yes. That is the thing you want more than anything else right now. It doesn't mean it's for the rest of your life.
Right.
Too often we think that I've failed when you're really just getting feedback.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that as well. And that feedback is essential because it helps us to pivot and move accordingly, right? Mm-hmm. So we need that feedback early and often in order to keep moving in the direction that we want, right? A plane never flies like direct, right? It's always sort of course correcting as it goes along.
And I think some of it, when we're talking about getting that feedback early and often, I do think that sometimes we tell the wrong people too soon. So I'm a big believer in bringing the right people in at the right time for the right support. That's the part of the find your damn people. So the do the damn thing method is craft your damn manifesto, find your damn people, and get your damn results. And finding your people is starting with just 2 to 3 people that have the capacity to be your cheerleader. So they're not trying to poke holes in your dream. They're not trying to give you constructive or not constructive feedback. When I was deciding to have my daughter, Mirastella, the first person I told was like, that's a terrible idea. And I was like, oh, okay. She thought I was asking for permission rather than support. So she's not my cheerleader. And so I just started a text thread with 3 of my closest friends from my book club. And I said, your job, if you are up for it, is just to cheer me on, just to be like, you had an ultrasound. That's great. Like, yay for blood tests. Like, that's their only job.
Right.
Then you start to expand that circle out to your support team. So some closer friends and family, then more of your network, and then more, and then eventually the larger world. Because what you're doing is as you increase those circles, I call them layered declarations. As you increase those, you're also building clarity and confidence so that you are more clear about what it is that you want to bring to life. And you're building a community that can support you and cheer you on as well.
Definitely. I just want to throw out there, since I've recently had some experience with this, is family isn't always in that cheerleader circle.
Nope. That's rarely your mom.
I chose to give an early copy of my book to my hypercritical family member. And the response I got, actually, there was some gold in it, but the way it was delivered and everything certainly wasn't in a cheerleader fashion. So
it wasn't helpful either.
It was helpful, but it could have been more helpful, right? I think people, like you said, it depends on the stage that you're in. But I think whenever we give feedback, to be really conscious of how we give the feedback.
Yeah.
Because these are people's, like you're talking about, people's dreams, people's passions. It's personal.
Yeah.
And so when it's personal, we have to understand that there's emotion attached to it. And so we have to be honest and give that feedback. But we also, and I love that you told people, like that's something that I also sent out. It just wasn't followed, but you can be more specific, is this is how I want to receive this feedback, right? If you can pre-frame people to that, or like you did, this is how I want you to support me, that helps to set them up for success too, right? So they're doing what you need them to do.
Yeah. I mean, look, I have 3 sisters and one of them is an attorney and she's fairly cynical. She knows this. She'll listen to this and be like, yep, that's me. Yep. And she's not the person that I usually go to first with like a passion project idea. Right. But I do go to her because I do eventually want somebody to be looking at things with a more critical eye, because you want to get that feedback before you put it out into the world and hear it from strangers or hear crickets. So yeah, it's all about just choosing the right people at the right time for the right support. And it can make all the difference.
Absolutely. Well, so we're coming to a little bit of the end of our time together. What didn't I ask you yet that is really important that we hear about? Obviously, I'm going to give you a chance to tell everybody where to go to find out about, the program and how they can do the damn thing.
Well, we started, with how to get unstuck, right? I mean, that was the first thing we talked about. Yeah. And so the N of the DAMN framework is now is the time. And just like you said, an object in motion tends to stay in motion. An object at rest tends to stay at rest. And so the hardest place to be in any venture is standing still because of purely of inertia. Right. And often we are waiting to get inspired in order to get into action. And I just want to offer to everyone listening that actually getting into action causes inspiration. So if you have gotten clear on your yes and your DAMN manifesto, then I teach something called micro actions. And a micro action is the smallest possible action that you will actually take. And when we use those, that's how we start to build the momentum that breaks through inertia. And if you find yourself really wanting something, but you're still paralyzed, then you just haven't broken your actions down small enough. So I want you to think about something. When you learned how to drive a car, you went small micro actions at a time, right? You got the keys, you opened the door, you sat down, you buckled yourself in, you checked this mirror, you checked the other mirror, you turned the key, all these small micro actions because you were just learning how to do it. Well, now I'm guessing, at least for me, I get in the car and I drive.
Right.
I'm still doing all of those same micro actions, but they just become bigger and faster and easier over time. So if you are feeling paralyzed about wanting to start a business or wanting to sell something, and you're like, I just need to build a website. Well, that's too big. Just GoDaddy or Namecheap and buy the URL and then open a Google Doc and type the first word. The smallest possible action that you will actually take. And then everything we do is just a series of micro actions done one after the other.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion, right? Because sure, I can go online and register my URL, right? Like those are little things that we can do now. And as you said, then that creates momentum. Oh, look what I did.
Yep.
Right. And then before you know it, you've done 5, 6, 10 of those micro actions. And you can look back and say, wow, look how far I've come. And maybe not focus as much on the 10,000 other things that you have to do. Right. But, from there, I'm always a fan of what's next. Right. When things feel overwhelming. It's just what's next.
Yeah. It's instead of looking at the top of the mountain, just get to the first tree. And then the next tree, and then the next tree. And if you were to just set a timer for 15 minutes and just do micro actions, when that timer goes off, you can stop. But sometimes you're going to feel inspired to keep going. And that's where that momentum is picking up.
Awesome. I love it. So micro actions can help us to get stuck in really anything, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just taking that next step. And like you said, then comes another, and then you're inspired to keep going. So that's simple. We can do that.
And then building that momentum that just carries you further. And then it's like those merry-go-rounds when we were kids that are all like the metal, everybody grabbed a bar and like the first few steps were so hard and you just leaned into it. And then you ran faster and faster. And then when it was going, you jumped on and you spun and spun. And then when you wanted to keep it going, you just stuck your little foot out and hoped you didn't break your ankle, but just gave it a little push. Like that's the same thing. Those first few steps are breaking inertia with micro actions. And then it becomes more fun. But those kids are not waiting for it to be fun before they start. Right. They just know what they want. They're taking micro actions in that direction and they trust that the fun will come.
Awesome. So as a last question, and then we'll close out the show, I ask most guests this question. So how do you define productivity and why?
So for me, productivity is moving in the direction of what I really want. And I think a lot of times when we're not clear on what it is that we want, we're just moving. And it's kind of like throwing spaghetti at the wall. And so I say when you're not clear, but you are taking action, it's just chaos. And so, I'm a single mom, I'm a solo parent of 3, running a business. I don't always have a lot of time. And so that's why I get super clear and say, okay, this is the most important thing that I need to get done today is this. And if I get that done, today's a win. That's for me being productive.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. So tell us where, and it'll also be in the show notes, where people can get more information about you and what did you call it? The DAMN Choice Program?
The Do the Damn Thing method.
Do the Damn Thing method.
Yeah. So obviously you like podcasts if you're listening to this one. So I have a podcast called All the Damn Things where just explore how to use this framework in your everyday life. And my book is called Your DAMN Manifesto. So you can go to yourdamnmanifesto.com and from there you'll find everything, how to find me on social and all the things that I'm up to in the world.
Great. Well, Bevin, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you all for being here because you took action. And from this, it's going to give you the potential to take further action. So I hope you took some notes, wrote down, what are you going to do now that you've heard this? What kind of micro actions are next to keep you in motion? So my name is Penny Zenker, and this is Take Back Time. We'll see you in the next episode. Hey, thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. If you're feeling a little off, distracted, overwhelmed, stuck, or just out of sync, remember that's your signal to reset. And that's all it takes, just recognizing one reset moment at a time. So stay tuned for more tips, tools, tricks, stories, strategies, all here on Time to Reset. We'll see you in the next episode.